Okay, we are all here. We're not all, well, everyone where'd Lisa go? Jeez. Oh, okay, we'll be ready. Okay, now we're all here. With the exception of Todd Arvidsson, who is on an excused absence. He has to work today with his full-time job. So he talked to me about it, and we still have a quorum to do what we need to do. So with that, we will call the City Council special meeting on Monday, July 25th, 2022 at 1 p.m. to order. If you will stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Okay, thank you. Citizen comment period. Did anybody sign up, Marissa? Okay, so we will continue and move on to looking at the proposed budget for fiscal year 23. So going to number 4, business items. The following items are open for discussion, consideration, and action for a proposed FY 2023 budgets for the City of Garden Ridge to include the general fund, the water company operation and maintenance fund, interest and sinking fund, capital improvements fund. So with that, everybody should have their packets in front of them. Nancy and Christine, the show is yours to go through the budget process. The way I'd like to work this as an open working meeting is to ask questions when you have them. And so we get those answered right away, because I promise you the questions that you have are probably questions that other members up here at the dais and within the city, and then also out there watching or watching later probably have to with citizens. So speak up often and early to get our questions answered, and then we'll continue on from there. So I'd like to say thank you both to Christine and Tina for being part of the City of Garden Ridge and for working so hard coming on just as budget season was beginning for the next fiscal year, and doing a great job working with Karen and then taking over on your own, Christine, especially you, coming through and doing a great job, and then working hand in hand with Nancy and Marissa and the rest of the city department heads to come up with a fiscal year 23 budget. The good news is that our proposed budget for fiscal 23 is larger than our actual budget and proposed budget for fiscal 22, so that's a good thing. Remember, most of our money comes from ad valorem taxes as well as our water fund. It's not a 50-50 split, but it's about 60-40 or so. So that's a good thing. So ad valorem taxes, property taxes, are what keep us solvent, and then our water company helps out going from there to not only run the water company and run it very well, but also to help the city out too. So the fact that we own our own water company is a good thing for the City of Garden Ridge. What we're looking forward to in the future is responsible commercial development, as all of you know, along FM 2252, because we're built out residential-wise as a city for the most part. There are still some lots that could be residential and development areas that could be residential, or a mixture in our proposed draft ordinance 13 and zoning ordinance. And as time goes, we will increase our revenue with sales tax and ad valorem taxes and some other impact fees with water and wastewater. So, but until then, our budget is good, but it's lean. And we do a very good job of running the city day to day, week to week, month to month, and every year on a lean but very solvent budget, and that's steadily growing. And with that, I will turn it over to Nancy, and then you can turn it over to Christine.
Thank you, Mayor. In your packet, you received the proposed budget for General Fund, Water Fund, Interest and Sinking, and Capital Improvement Fund. And we will go over the budget that you received in your packet. Now, Christine and I met with the mayor Friday afternoon, and there were a few changes that were made, and that is the revised packet pages that you received. And only those pages that were affected with changes have been provided. Everything else remains the same. Do you want to go on and take off? And I will interject, and we're going to highlight some of the bigger changes to the budget throughout this process. But we're open to any questions the council may have at any time. I don't think it was. I think it is now.
Is it now? Oh, yay, it's on.
Yeah.
Thanks, Stephen. Thanks, Nancy.
You're welcome.
As you're looking at the original proposed budget that we presented in the agenda packet, sales tax, or forgive me, ad valorem taxes, we were really ultra conservative on our projection of what the revenue would be. We only used a 2% projection of increases, and I think that with those numbers, we're still running pretty well with what we need to have in order to carry the city through the next fiscal year. Franchise fees, we increased by $2,820, and that was just because we anticipate possibly getting an increase with some of the contracts that we have for the tower rentals. Permit fees was an increase a little bit because of anticipated permits that may be pulled for development on 2252. And for general fees, I don't remember, Nancy, what that was. Do you remember?
Fees and licenses, we increased planning and zoning variance fees by $7,000. That is basically, we've got property owners are now starting to want to do things on their properties, which is causing more variances, and there's fees associated with that, as well as with platting, rezoning, things of that nature that would go along with development on 2252. Tower rental was increased to bring it closer to the actual in 21. Community center rental fees, there's a lot more activity going on in the community center. So we increased that by $27,000. And because of that increase, naturally our deposits are going to increase. Let's see, community center cleanup fees, that is where we clean up after the event, we set up prior to the event and tear down after the event. Renters are wanting to do that rather than they having to do that themselves, so we increased that. Park rental fees are up. Activity at the park is, and rental at the park is increasing. Do you want me to take it from here, Christine?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay.
Let's
Your miscellaneous fees, trash penalties, we brought that up closer to actual 21 figures. Bank interest is starting to go up, so we increased that slightly by $4,700. We increased credit card user fees. Everybody, just about everybody is paying now their utility bills, their fines, building permits by credit card. And miscellaneous income, we brought that up to align closer with our actuals in 21's budget. Sure, sure. Okay. We are on general fund revenue, I'm sorry, page 1. I mean, page 3, I'm sorry. Did anybody have any questions or like me to go over anything else? Sure.
I noted it on my copy, and I think you said it, so I'm trying to find the page. Community center, sorry. Community center rental fees, you said were up, that's the 27,000, that's where I was
Correct.
tracking. And then, did you go to 4, or did you stay on 3?
I just finished page 3.
Okay, let me see if I have anything on. No, I don't. Thank you.
Were there any additional questions on revenues? Okay, let's move to page 4, which is going to be the administration department expenditures. Personnel services, this will be common amongst every department, including the water department, that has personnel services. In this budget, we have projected a 5% increase. We're not really, you can call it a cost of living increase, but we are calling it just a wage increase. I believe the 5% is even still going to be below the cost of living expense or increase for this year.
It's
Nancy,
about,
can I interject in there? real
Sure.
quick? Okay, just to clarify some things for the dais as well as everyone watching in the city. So last year we had a 3%, COLA is not the right term, cost of living allowance. We had a 3% salary increase to help cover and balance out our salaries for our city employees, roughly 32 positions, not all filled, to help with the cost of living. So it's a salary increase, not a cost of living allowance like some of us might be used to from military service when you go overseas. 3% is a very good increase, and this year across the board is a 5% increase for the base salary, for the salaries for our city employees. For the city, or for this, the inflation overall is anywhere from 7.3% to probably 10.8% across the country in the last fiscal year. Texas is, we think, somewhere around 8 to 8.2% cost of living increase. So going 5% across the board for our city employees, increase for everybody, I think is it's a good thing for the city of Garden Ridge. It's doable within our budget. One thing about the city of Garden Ridge that I didn't know, that I was told last week through Nancy and Christine, is that for the last 20 years, the city has always given some sort of increase to our city employees for their salary. So that, and talking to Christine and Nancy both, that's not something that every city practices or does or can afford to do. So even with a lean budget that's well controlled and balanced and managed, we have a good history with our city employees to keep their salaries as best we can fair and equitable and competitive. That's another thing that we need to remember that we've gone through in the last year is we're always going to have turnover in a city business. We have less turnover than most cities of comparable size, and that is throughout our departments. And one of the reasons that I think is because Garden Ridge, it's Team Garden Ridge, it's a great place to work as well as a great place to live. And we go to great lengths to take care of our employees. So to make sure that they have what they need to live on and then some. So I wanted to throw out those things to you guys. So it's 5%, Texas is 8 to 8.2%. We can't get there, but we can do the 5%. And that's a good thing. So, thanks, Nancy. I just wanted to make
You're
sure everybody knew
welcome.
that.
You're welcome, Mayor. Okay, throughout the personnel services, we are projecting a 5% increase in workers' comp insurance. We're projecting our state unemployment tax percentage to be 0.1%. Our medical insurance increased 11.85%. We saw no increase in dental or vision. However, life insurance, we are anticipating a 6.5% increase. We don't have those figures yet, as well as an 8% increase in short-term and long-term disability. And again, we don't have those figures yet. Retirement has a 7.91% rate this year. Moving on down into professional services, we've closed out a lot of projects we've had with our city engineer, so we have decreased that budget by $30,000. Let's see, city support services. We added $5,000 into that line item for council events, should there be an event that the council wants to sponsor. Under staff support, we increased membership and dues by $6,085, and that was predominantly, some of the membership dues are starting to go up for various things that we belong to, as well as the adding the $5,000 in there for Tri-County Chamber of Commerce. Computer hardware and software throughout all of the departments that, in this budget that do have programs and hardware, we've increased that by $3,050 for admin. A lot of that is for the cost of replacing some of our desktops and other hardware. We've increased printing by $1,500. We're projecting about a 7% increase on things like general liability, auto, errors and omission, and property insurance rates. We've increased legal notices by $2,000, and that is because with all the variances and with development along 2252, we have public notice requirements, and publication requirements do get very costly. Credit card processing fees, again, people are using credit cards to pay for most everything here at the city, so we do have an increased expenditure in that. And elections, we are projecting a $1,000 increase for the elections held in 2023. Utilities, services, we're projecting an increase of about $5,500 here for the electricity and City Hall and library combined. Also, we are projecting to sell the little admin car, so therefore we've taken out insurance. We've deleted the insurance requirement in 23's budget, as well as fuel and maintenance. And then City Hall Council Chamber streaming, those are paid through PEG fees, and we do have some costs that will be incurred this year, equating to $13,986, but we have to show that in the budget, although it is paid for through PEG fees. So overall, admin has an increase of $34,139 over the 2022 budget that we are currently in.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Household hazardous waste events, 19,000. We haven't had one.
I am working with,
Planning on having one?
I met with Mr. Armstrong last Thursday, and we are working on seeing what we can come up with.
I'm happy to hear that. So we need it. So, thank you.
Can we talk about that really quick?
Sure.
So that is something that we charge for in our water bill.
Yeah.
Is that saving for that type of hazardous waste event. The last one we had was in 2019. I have heard from one citizen in particular out there who's been very diligent, saying, hey, when are we going to do another one? So the problem is that they are very expensive to hold with Republic. And it's not that Republic is overcharging us, it's that
They're just expensive
they're
overall.
very expensive. So what Nancy and I are talking about is having another one perhaps sometime this fall, getting into early winter. Not necessarily a full day event, but take down the amount of hours that we're doing it so that we can afford it. And then we'll see how that goes, and then maybe look at getting out of that business because, and no longer charging for it on the water bill. And the reason for that is because Comal County does it twice a year. So we obviously are part of Comal County, and we can rely on them. And it's just a very expensive endeavor. So it's completely separate from our odd month dumpsters, so which we love and get a tremendous amount of comments, positive comments on. But I wanted to, if it's up, I wanted to talk about that. So yeah,
Appreciate
you
that.
bet.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Nancy on this page?
Yes, sir. Could you define, under city support services, council events versus special events?
Well, I don't really have a definition other than this would be something that would be city council related.
Something we didn't know we needed but the special events is a separate line item?
Well, special events predominantly was like for the 50th. That's what we had that special events in there last year for.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
but
remember
you-
seeing a note on that, so.
Huh?
I saw a note on that, on the last year's budget for the 50th.
Yeah,
So that
yeah.
was the holding to provide seating money, right? So,
Okay. And then I noticed on the original original submission that we didn't have anything for training travel, and I had a question about that, but I know that you've gone back in on Friday and added, was that just an oversight, or do we not anticipate?
I thought we had training and travel.
We had
We do.
something missing. Oh,
We have 5,900 budgeted, but in the revision, since the meeting Friday, we're going to be proposing adding some additional to that.
okay, that's, right, that's, see, I've got the two copies, and I'm trying to keep them straight here. Yes, I had a question, because it wasn't on the email version, and yes, you have added it. I'm just noting that.
Let's talk about that really quick while we added some money. So TML annual convention is coming up. We haven't had anybody go in recent or distant memory to that. And it's a big deal with municipalities in Texas. We just haven't done that from the city of Garden Ridge. I did get an email from, or Nancy and I got an email from Kelly last week about the upcoming TML conference, and hey, is anybody going? Is this something that we usually do? And so Nancy and I and Christine talked about it based on Kelly's thoughtful email, and let's budget for it. So if we want to go, it's the first week in October, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the 5th, 6th, or 5th and 6th. It's actually Wednesday and Thursday. It's in San Antonio. Some of our thoughts that we'd have to talk about is, hey, what do we do with the city council meeting? Because that's Wednesday night, but there's the dinner, the first night of that. So we talked about different options that we can talk about at a future council meeting if that's the case. But bottom line, we have the money for it, and we will fund it if we want to go. So you know me, I'm all about relationships and networking and getting the city of Garden Ridge out there. I think that was a very thoughtful email, and if we want to go, I fully support that as the mayor, and I'd love to go with you guys. So, and it's in town. So that's why we put some extra money in that. So that's a very thoughtful question, Kay. Did everybody, did we answer your question, Kay, on that one? Yes, thank you. Okay, Kelly, anything else to add on that?
No, but so that's what falls under council events, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, no,
No.
the training
Training and
events.
travel.
Council
Training.
events is, hey, when we want to do things, it could fall into First Friday, although I'm not intending that money to be spent on First Friday. We're still going to fund that privately, but that's other events that we have.
Or
So,
chamber mixer in our town.
yeah,
Some of
although
those-
I think we have a corporate sponsor for that too, right? So,
Yeah.
but yes, so that would help with a chamber mixer.
Any other luncheons
Yeah.
that council may desire to go to, things of that nature?
That covers our Northeast Partnership Mayor's
We can-
Workshop that we host
Yes.
once a year
that
too.
would- We've been covering that out of miscellaneous, but that can now be tracked into that council events.
But it is what started the initial money for the funding for the 50th. And there's not going to be a big 51st party, so, other than going to Garcia's. So, did we cover all that? And did you guys hear that we're going to work to sell Putt-Putt? The admin car that's out there? We never use it, and it's probably time for Putt-Putt to find a better, a home where he or she is more used, right?
Give you $50.
She's not
Oh,
for
I
sale
wanted
just
more
yet.
than that.
100, I'll give
All
you
right.
100.
Okay, let's keep moving. That's all I had. So any other questions for Nancy on this page or Christine? Okay, keep going.
Okay. Municipal court. Other than the increases in the personnel services that Mayor and I have reviewed, the only other increase in this budget is going to be for the judge. And we are proposing a $100 per month increase in the fee that he receives from the city. He's currently being paid 400 or 600? 600 monthly, and his fee would increase to 700. The prosecutor is currently being paid $600 monthly, and typically there's a difference between the two, and so this is our opportunity to create that difference.
That was brought to our attention, and I support that increase. It's a good thing for us.
Overall, the court budget's only going to increase $2,416 from current fiscal year to '23. If there's no other questions, I'll move on to police department. Okay. You'll see, really, the police department has very few changes, very few increases. One thing that we are increasing, of course, is law enforcement liability. That's projected at 7%. Fuel cost, we are projecting $13,800 increase over the prior year, and we all know what that's about. We are not going to have any vehicle lease this year. And we are proposing $40,000 for the purchase of a new patrol car or patrol vehicle.
How about Putt-Putt and get it cheaper?
I don't think anybody will fit in that one in the back, and no.
Okay, anything else for Nancy on general fund police department? Okay.
All right.
General Fund, Public Works.
All right, Public Works has a few changes in it. The first one is wildlife management. We are not projecting any revenue or any expenditure for wildlife management due to the commission will be decommissioned. Animal Services, we are proposing a $2,000 increase to bring it to $12,000. That increase will bring it closer to what our actual expenditures are projected for this fiscal year. There are some things that Eric needed for animal control, so that should cover those expenditures and those needs. Let's see, we're increasing supplies by $1,500, and that brings us closer to prior year actual. Operational expenses, increase of $2,700. Of course, the cost of materials has increased. Auto insurance, we're projecting a 7% increase. Then as we move on down to gasoline, we're projecting a $5,300 increase because of increased fuel cost. We are increasing building and facility maintenance by $5,000. This facility is starting to get older and maintenance needs are starting to be needed. Facility heating, air conditioning, maintenance, we're increasing that to $5,000, or increasing it $5,000 to $25,000. Equipment and maintenance, the backhoe needs new tires, so we're increasing that to $15,000, which will equates to a $2,000 above current fiscal year increase. Vehicle maintenance repairs, several of the city or the Public Works vehicles need tires, so we are bumping that line item up to $8,000 so that we can put tires and keep our Public Works vehicles safe. We're projecting Parks and Recreation is increasing by $500, but in the budget of $22,500, we are projecting to spend $2,500 for an upgraded sound system for the park. Sign replacement is starting to get a little expensive, increased cost in that area, and we are increasing that line item by $4,000. So overall, Public Works will see a $40,507 increase over the current fiscal year in the proposed new budget.
Questions for Nancy on General Fund, Public Works?
Yes, I have a
Go.
question, please. Parks Committee, I noticed a reduction of $300. May I ask why we would reduce it?
Parks Committee reduction.
Under City Support Services? The item 55226, Parks Committee, from 94 down to 91.
I think that projection was made based on what their actual, closer to what their actual expenditures were for this fiscal year.
But,
Did that answer your question, Kay?
no, I just am surprised we would reduce it. Especially if you're only reducing it 300, that's all.
I think that was just to bring it closer to what the current fiscal year's expenditures were coming in at.
Okay, and where would, needed expenses, needed improvements for, say, Paul Davis Park,
Those are going to be under Parks Recreation.
Right, okay, so that's what I'm trying to clarify.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And under that, there's 22,500.
Right.
Okay, anything else?
No,
Okay.
thank you.
Let's chat about, really quick, the park sound system upgrade on Parks and Recreation for the 22.5 proposed $500 increase from last year. That could be a new sound system that would be portable, that we could take to Paul Davis Park or have up here at the community center for the Christmas tree lighting. We spent $1,000 the morning of the 4th of July at Paul Davis Park for our sound system, the owner and operator bring it in, and it worked out smashingly. We got a lot of compliments on it. We had 0 line of sight issues with the wireless mic, so our MC, myself, were never cut out just based on number of people and where we were. He did a great job of operating it and giving us the right music that we wanted. It worked well with our great MC, Terry Dennis, working with him with the right music at the right time to have different things going on. So this 2,500 could be a new system that's portable like that, but then we got to find someone that has the expertise to operate it. So it could be a purchase. It could be, hey, we rent him again for the next 4th of July, / we'll see what the Parks Committee wants to do with the Christmas tree lighting this year, because we had the same line of sight issues last Christmas as we had the previous 4th of July. So just to clarify that, it could be a new system, but we'd have to have someone that can run it and run it well, or it could be just us renting that same person out. Okay, if there's no other questions for Nancy for General Fund Public Works, I think we're on General Fund Community Center.
Yes. Okay. We are proposing to increase the manager's hourly fee from $12 to $15 an hour, which equates to about $4,800. We are also increasing equipment to $6,000, which is a $5,500 increase, so that we can upgrade the sound as well as the audio-visual equipment at the community center. And those are predominantly the only real increases for the community center, other than those associated with personnel.
To highlight one thing, the hourly increase from $12 to $15 would be our community center manager's first increase in wage in 3 years. So I think that's rather important. Any questions for Nancy regarding the general fund for community center? Okay, continuing on, general fund library.
Okay. Let's see. We're, the library is increasing supplies by $400 to $1,200. Computer hardware and software increases by $325, and ebook expenditures will increase by $100. In addition to all the increases that were discussed prior for personnel services. The library's total increase from the 22 budget to 23 is $6,914.
Any questions for Nancy regarding our general fund library? Okay, continue.
Okay, I just wanted to kind of review the general fund summary sheet, which is page 1 of your original, the original budget pages you received in your packet. For the 23 budget, total revenues will increase, are estimated to increase $252,049, while expenditures will increase $220,646, which leaves a $31,402 carryover into the reserves. Ending fund balance would be $3,743.20. Of that amount, $103,290 are in the restricted balances. And after all is said and done, we would have 13 months of reserves for general fund. Okay. And also, we are being ultra-conservative on our property tax revenue. I received our certified values on Friday. Tax office will take those and calculate our tax rate. We will have a tax rate by our August, is it August the 11th, Marissa, the meeting? August the 11th. So at that point in time, we'll have a better idea of what our actual property tax revenue will be.
So what all that means is that it's a lean budget and a conservative proposed budget for fiscal '23 that, with a very conservative outlook, we have increased our budget. And we think that with our appraised value for all of the assets in the city of Garden Ridge, and then the property taxes, the ad valorem on top of that, we should have actually more income coming in than is proposed and planned, which is a good thing. When you're balancing your checkbook, more money in there is good, right? So, Lisa, you look like you have a question.
No, I always have a lot of citizens ask me what the city can do about property taxes. Can you lower our property taxes? Our appraisals went up, we're paying more in taxes. Can you explain that whole process, Nancy? Try to tell them that the state caps it and we're really not making, a bunch of cash off this. That's not how it works, but I always have a difficult time explaining that.
Okay, I will try. Okay. You're supposed to, the property tax system that is in place right now, you're supposed to bring in close to what you did the prior fiscal year. Your property tax is, okay. When your appraised value goes up, or your taxable value, your tax rate naturally goes down. So the tax rate, which is the amount of money we receive based on your, after it's applied to your tax value, is what the city receives. We don't receive any more money than what the state allows us to calculate our tax rate at and apply that to your taxable value. I hope that made sense. No? Well, we are only, let's see, this will be the third year. So 3 years back, and for many years prior to that, we were allowed to increase the city's calculated effective tax rate by 8% without being forced to election. 3 years ago, when the new laws came in place, we're only allowed to increase by 3.5%. If you look at page 1 of or page 3. And you go up to ad valorem taxes. In '22, our ad valorem taxes were $1,808,071. That was our maintenance and operation rate. And because of that 2.5% increase, we are projecting 1,861,000 plus. That's maintenance and operation. Remember, your tax rate has 2 components. Maintenance and operation is the only component of that tax rate that funds general fund. The other component is interest and sinking, and that funds your debt. Our debt will be going down somewhat this year, so you're naturally going to see that rate drop a little bit. Last year, our tax rate dropped close to 2 cents overall. And part of that was a decrease in the interest and sinking rate, as well as increased values. Property values drove the maintenance and operation down slightly. And I think this year you're also going to see that again. I suspect our tax rate is going to be lower than what it is today. Because you're not, the way it's designed, you should be bringing in close to what you did the prior year. That 3.5%.
Thank you.
Did that help? Did that help, Lisa? Yeah. It's very confusing. There's so many figures that go into that calculation. You're welcome.
Okay, so this year, for 2023, we have a delta that's positive. Last year, for 2022, it was break even.
Yes.
So do we foresee what that actual delta could be for this year? Is it gonna be still balanced, or we're gonna have more income? Do you have an idea? I know it's, we're only 2/3 into the year, so just kind of wondering if.
We will see carryover into our reserves this year. When I say this year, I mean 2022.
Yeah, so yeah, okay, great.
From what we are seeing for actuals right now, we are going to see carryover into reserve.
Great, okay, good to hear that. Thank you.
It's a good question, Jesse, thank you. Anybody else for the general fund?
Sir, I forgot something on the expenditures page for Public Works. It's my fault when I was asking that Parks question. Under maintenance services and so on, I know we have a budget of $25,000. I don't see a line item specifically for the equipment/vehicle shed that I proposed several years ago and we've talked about a couple times. And that might be a question for Stephen. I think we need to, if it's not already in the works, I think we need to protect our investment, our vehicle investment.
It's not proposed in this budget.
Well, I think it should be.
Okay, can you remind us of what you had proposed?
A few years ago, we were talking about all the money we spend on new vehicles. Every vehicle is expensive. And I said, but we don't have adequate facilities to store that. So there's wear and tear, weather, everything, just continuing to the, if you will, the devaluation of our vehicles. We buy a $60,000 vehicle or $50,000 or whatever, right off the bat, it's sitting out in the sun. There's no protection. I mean, 1 or 2 can go in the bays from time to time. And I proposed that, and it was on, proposed agenda for quite some time as an agenda item, and I still feel strongly that we need to incorporate that budget and just get a vehicle shed. I don't care if it's a pole barn, but something to protect our vehicles. We're spending money on vehicles, and we're just leaving them out in the weather.
Okay. So I don't remember talking about that in the last year. So, but that is something that is, you said you proposed it a couple years ago?
A few years ago, and it was a recurring agenda item, Marissa would remember, recurring agenda item off and on. I know it hasn't been
Okay.
on, of course Marissa remembers, but I did propose it, it was a carry forward, let's consider this, and then I thought when we came up with this budget, Stephen knows I proposed it, I mean, of course.
I'm not saying you didn't.
No, but I'm just saying, I'm admitting that it hasn't been on the carryover agenda items for some time,
Yeah.
but I didn't think anybody forgot about it. I just thought when we got to the budget again, that's why I'm bringing it up now, because I didn't see a line item for that.
Can we do this, since we don't know off the top of our heads or have any research that we probably have with us to add it to the budget? Is it something that we can put on a future agenda to start looking into that and researching it again? And when the funds and budget for it over this next fiscal year, would that work?
Well, I mean, that's apparently where we are now, because, I mean, that means another year of depreciation and.
Not necessarily. I mean, we can, with carryover
No, I
and with what we
understand.
just talked about, we think we're gonna have a surplus. And that's
Right.
something that we could work towards
As a capital expense.
budgeting
Right.
for
Right.
and seeing if we can fund that, even if it's, like you said, a pole barn.
That'd be fine. I mean, I'd rather have more than a pole barn, but I'm not talking an insulated, with quarters and all, but I mean something to protect the
You bet.
vehicles.
No, that's important.
Yeah, so if Stephen's available to research that, that'd be great.
I will.
Will that suffice?
Certainly.
Okay, great. Great. Any other questions, general fund wise, before we go on to water company? All right, on to item number 4, Alpha 2, water company operation and maintenance fund.
Okay, I think we'll start with the water fund summary page. On your original budget, or the original budget you received in your packet. Water fund, we're proposing an increase in revenues of $13,072, and total expenditures an increase over our current fiscal year of $13,072. So in other words, this would be a balanced budget. Ending fund balance for the water fund is $1,258,738, which equates to 6 months of reserves. Okay. We are projecting under revenues, this would be page 1. An increase of $10,872 in water sales, $2,000 total in miscellaneous fees, and $2,000 in fees, which is going to be meters. It would help if I got to the right page, y'all. I'm sorry. I got myself confused. I'm sorry. Okay. $10,872 in increased water sales. Water penalties, we're expecting those we're bringing that closer to prior year's actuals, so that would be a $2,000 increase. And we are projecting $200 increase in 23 for miscellaneous fees, totaling the $13,072 increase in water revenue for the 23 budget. Any questions on the revenue side?
Okay, keep going.
Okay. Expenditures. Mayor covered the expenditures proposed for personnel services. In professional services, we are going to decrease the city attorney fee by $2,000 and the engineer by $17,000. The water master plan, we're decreasing that to $12,000 because that is almost completed. Going down this list, let's see. We're projecting the 7% increase in general liability, auto, errors and omission, and property insurance. We're projecting a $13,000 increase in computer hardware and software. Can you elaborate on that one a little bit more for me, Christine, please? It looks like it. AMI. Okay.
Thank you. Or I can get the actual breakdown if council needs to see it, to show exactly what was increased, but it was all related to AMI.
Anybody have questions for Nancy regarding that page?
Well, I'm not finished with the page.
Okay.
Okay. Chemical cost has been increased by $7,000 to $13,000 because of the cost of chlorine. We have decreased utilities to bring it more in line with the current year-to-date figures that we have for this current fiscal year. We've increased fuel by $5,880. Of course, increased fuel cost. Vehicle maintenance and repairs, we've increased that by $1,500 to bring it more in line with 21's actual expenditures. We are anticipating to be able to pull the well at the 3009 well site up here on top of the hill for a cost of $20,000, but we feel that we'll be able to do it within the plant's operation, maintenance, and repairs line item. That totals $59,520. Then, as you get down to debt service, it shows you what our current debt principal, interest, as well as our current SIB loan principal and interest will equate to, which is a total of $713,005 for this fiscal year. And overall, expenditures total $11,657 over the 2022 budget. Huh? Yeah, that's what I'm going by. It's the old sheet. So before we get into the other changes.
Anybody have questions for Nancy on water fund expenditure sheet?
Same question as for the previous one, as far as 2022. It was balanced. Do we foresee having additional funds going into the fund balance?
Christine, that is a question for you, ma'am.
I'm sorry, Jesse, can you ask the question again, please?
So right now, for 2022, the balance shows balance. And I just wondered if there will be additional funds going into the water fund, the reserves.
There's a tiny amount that will be going there, I believe. Let me check real quick. Bear with me just a second, okay?
For 2022, Christine.
For 2022. Yes, sir, we should have some money that's going in there for 2022. If you need the exact amount, I can check to see for you. But there should be some,
Range,
and I apologize, I don't have a range.
In this case, when we did the water rates, there's supposed to be at least 115,000 extra going to the water fund every year, into the reserve.
And I can check to see.
So, yeah, so right now, it's not showing anything for this year either, so
Okay.
we need to look at that.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Jesse. Anybody else? Okay, Nancy, continue.
Interest and sinking fund. On this budget, you will see that ad valorem taxes projected to come in to pay our interest and sinking obligations is $661,017. And then we will be transferring from water fund to pay the water fund's debt obligations, $713,005. When you look at total revenues from the interest and sinking fund, you will note that the 2023 is less than the 2022 because we do have some principal and interest in some of the different obligations that are decreasing for this fiscal year. We've listed out all the debt service payments, obligations that we have. You'll note 2012 obligation, 56% of that is paid by general fund and 44% by the water fund. The 2012 refinance is 100% paid by general fund. The Series 2015, 58% is paid by general fund and 42% by water fund. The 2017 refinance is paid 100% by the water fund. And then our SIB loan is paid 100% by the water fund. We expect a ending balance in our interest and sinking fund for the 23 fiscal year of $47,213.
Questions for Nancy regarding interest and sinking fund? Yeah, I've got one thing to highlight here, and that is, you go, hey, Rob, here's all of our debt. Here's how much interest we're paying on it. Here's our principal payment. It's like looking at your mortgage at home or whatnot. And here's when we're scheduled to pay these off. When you compare the city of Garden Ridge to other municipalities, even percentage-wise regarding size, we have quite a low debt ratio for our population and our budget. And that combined with how well we do with our annual audit, that's what maintains our high bond rating. So, and that's credit that goes to everybody in the city, especially Nancy and our head of finance. So in previous years, Karen, and now Christine and Tina. So this is a good thing. So we have a low debt ratio for how our population and our budget, which is why if we needed to seek another bond in the future, we should be able to do that without any problems. So wanted to add that. If there's nothing else, Nancy, we can go on to our capital improvements fund.
Okay. All right. Capital improvement funds, we project that we have a balance starting 23 fiscal year from the SIB loan of $540,500 and the American Recovery and Rescue Act of $1,009,000. So therefore, available CIP funds would be $1,549,500. The expenditures proposed in the 23 fiscal year are $77,800 in engineering fees and $42,243 for a public works generator, relocation of the 2252 water line of $585,635 that would have to be paid for through the Americans Rescue and Recovery funds, because our original SIB loan of $540,500 that we have remaining is not going to cover the relocation costs, because since we obtained that loan, the prices have more than doubled. So the relocation of that water line on 2252 is going to be about $1 million, $1.1 million, close to it.
Does that include the intersection of 22?
Yes, that is the intersection as well as the other,
As well, an increase, okay.
yes. Okay, I'm projecting $14,000 for a new server. We have 2 servers on our net that operate our computer network. So I'm projecting $14,000 to upgrade the last one that needs to be upgraded. Also, we have got to replace our chilled air system for this facility. Right now, we are putting Band-Aids on it. Last week, they came in and replaced a motor, and discovered when they came in to replace that motor, the other motor had gone out. So we really have no other choice but to replace the system. The proposal that I had at the time of preparing the budget was $135,000. It could be a little bit more, it could be a little bit less. And then, of course, allocating the remaining $540,500 from the SIB loan for the water line relocation on 2252. With all that said, however, we look like we're going to have an ending fund balance of $216,703. But a lot of that is going to depend on what those actual costs for that water line relocation come to, which we should be going out for bid on that project within the next couple of months.
Questions for Nancy regarding our capital improvements fund? I'm going to add a couple of highlights.
Yes, sir.
Go.
So I know, under legal fees, expenditures, legal fees, we're not proposing any fees in the new budget. Is that because? Darn it, I had it on, sorry. Is that because they would be paid under the general fund if necessary?
Well, we don't anticipate any legal fees to be incurred for any of these remaining projects that need to be done.
Right, I mean, we had 10 last year, anticipating,
I think the 10,000 dealt with the securing of that SIB loan.
oh, okay, okay.
There were
so
legal fees
to secure that.
associated with that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else for capital improvements fund? So a couple of highlights. If you came to City Hall last week, it was, 89 degrees in the mayor's office, and about 85 in the hallway and everywhere. So our cooling system is our original system with a bunch of Band-Aids over the years over it, and we have to get a new system. So, and when we replaced the one motor last week, guess what? The other motor's gone. And there's only so many Band-Aids we can put on it before we need to do the Bionic Man upgrade, right? Bionic Woman. And we're thinking that's gonna be $135,000. So the generator was part of our endeavor last year when we said, hey, we wanna be ready for the next weather events out there, or disasters, however they come about. One of those is, making sure our generator right outside the police department is ready to go and fueled up for 48 hours of continuous use in the heat and the cold. And then we also want to make sure that we have that same generator capability for power up at Public Works, which we currently don't have. So this is one of the last pieces of that puzzle that we started in fiscal year '22 together last year. And then the water line relocation, we have to have that done and totally complete before TxDOT can come up and work their way up here. So they're about to finish the bridge over Cibolo Creek, right? So, and they're the flyovers next over the train tracks. And then that next part, after that, however long that takes, they'll be up to us. And we have to have our stuff completely done before they even will get close to touching it. So, it's a good problem to have because of the development to FM 2252, but we need to get that done. And the price of everything has gone up. Like Nancy said, it's doubled in the last year. So anything else for Capital Improvements Fund before we move on? Okay. What I would like to do really quick is I want to recess. I have a couple of questions for Nancy and Christine before we continue on to item 4B. So we are going to recess until 2:20. We'll be right back here. I only need 8 minutes. Okay, thanks. Okay, we are back in regular session after our recess at 2:25 p.m. I thank you for that quick break. I had a couple of questions for, Lisa and I had a couple of questions for Nancy and Christine regarding the budget. So what we would like to do here is move on to item number 4B, file the proposed fiscal 2023 budgets with the city secretary. Before we do that, some clarification. So in your packets that you received last week, that's the budget that we talked about just now, the proposed fiscal 2023. You received in email this morning some proposed salary amendments that myself, the city administrator, finance and HR, and the mayor pro tem have been talking about and going through. And you have those documents, but I wanted to give you guys more time to look over some of those proposals and give us some more time. I'm not ready, and Lisa's not ready to discuss those right now, because we want some more input from you guys who would approve those proposed adjustments for some salaries. And especially before we do something like that and go there, I want to know exactly how much our proposed budget's going to be. And that we will have a lot more information when it comes down to our August 11th meeting, our next special meeting, which is the budget public hearing. And then looking at our tax rate for the first time. By that time, we will know, we'll have a much better idea what's going to be, what our revenue is going to be from ad valorem taxes. We'll have a much better idea of what our tax rate proposed will be, as well as have time in between now and then to talk about some salary increases for certain positions to make sure that they are competitive, so fair and equitable, as well as competitive to the surrounding markets of municipalities. So what I would like to do, if you guys are okay with it, would be to make an amendment to, or make a motion to approve the fiscal 2023 budget as briefed with the inclusion of the $2,500 administrative training addition that we talked about, and leave it at that with all of the different budgets that we talked about. That's what I'm the most comfortable with doing right now, and then we can talk more about salary amendments on our August 11th meeting, as you guys have had time to go through it, ask questions through Nancy or Marissa or Christine to me if needed, or just be ready to talk a little bit more about it come August 11th. Are you guys, is that okay? Is it a head nod? Yeah, okay. A couple of things we talked about. So our budget roughly overall between, in fiscal '22, between our general fund and the water fund was around 4.9 million total. If you do just some quick math with proposed budget from here for our water fund of 1.8 million and some change, and the general fund of 3.4 million and some change, you come up with about $5.2 million. So we are up a little bit from last year with a conservatively. That's a good thing. And things are looking good for the city of Garden Ridge. And I'm very happy with the work that Christine and Nancy and everybody have done to put this budget together, and all of our department heads, obviously. So with that, can I get a motion to approve the proposed fiscal 2023 budget with the $2,500 administrative training amendment with the city secretary? Oh, Nancy, go ahead, please.
The motion is to file the budget with the city secretary.
Thank you for that clarification. So can I get a motion to file the proposed fiscal 2023 budget with the $2,500 amendment with the city secretary?
I move to file the proposed 2023 budget with the $2,500 amendment with the city secretary.
We have a motion to
Second.
approve. We have a second. Any further discussion? I will call it to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. We have filed the proposed fiscal 2023 budget with the city secretary, which was the primary goal of today. Okay, before we close that out, anything to add, Nancy, Marissa, Christine, with that? No? Okay, so let's go over the item number 4C, review budget and tax rate adoption process and schedule, the next most important thing.
Okay, with the filing of the proposed 23 budget with the city secretary, we will be following calendar number 1 of the 23 budget and 22 tax rate schedule. So at the August 11th special council meeting at 6 p.m., which we need a minimum of 5 council members present, you will be presented the no new revenue and voter approval tax rates, and at that meeting you will make a proposal as to which tax rate you would like to pursue for public hearing and approval. And then we will also have the fiscal year 23 budget public hearing, and then adoption of the 23 fiscal year budget at that meeting. After that, we are not scheduled for tax rate public hearing or adoption until August 29th, which that is another special city council meeting that will be at 6 p.m.
Any questions for Nancy regarding our schedule for the budget process and tax rate? Okay, thank you. I think that'll take us to citizen comments. Marissa, can you put the schedule up there, or the agenda, just to make sure I'm getting this right? Okay, so item number 5, citizen comment period. I don't think we have anybody that's going to want to speak. Okay, we'll close that out, and that moves us to item number 6. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make the motion to adjourn.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'll call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, council. We are adjourned. 2:33.
Probably, yeah. I've got a meeting